Many years ago, in the busy streets of Abeokuta, there lived a woman named Mama Naomi. Mama Naomi's cheerful spirits and accommodating nature made her beloved by many. Yet, life had not been kind to her. When her husband died suddenly, leaving her with their young daughter, Naomi, she became both a mother and father to her. With no formal education and no one to rely on, she turned to whatever work she could find so as to provide for her child, Naomi. Some days, she was at the market hauling heavy sacks for traders. On other days, she washed clothes for wealthier families. She washed so much clothes that by the end of the day, her fingers became raw and wrinkled from soap and water. When times were especially tough, she joined laborers to break stones in the scorching sun and earned just enough to buy a loaf of bread and a few cups of garri. Mama Naomi's life was a cycle of toil and sacrifice, but she endured it all for her beautiful daughter, Naomi. "As long as my daughter eats, I will be fine," she often told herself. Naomi, despite the challenges, grew up to be a bright and hardworking girl. She walked long distances to school each day, her feet dusty from the red earth roads of Abeokuta. After school, she would rush home to help her mothers with house chores, such as fetching water from the public tap of one of their neighbors, sweeping their tiny compound, and sometimes cooking dinner. On weekends, she accompanied her mother to the market to sell roasted corn or vegetables. In the evenings, when the day's work was done, Naomi and her mother would sit together, sharing stories and folktales under the dim glow of their kerosene lamp. Naomi would often say, "Mama, when I grow up, I will take care of you. You will rest and I will make sure that you never ever work again, Mama." Those words brought tears to Mama Naomi's eyes and filled her with hope for the future. Years passed and Naomi became a young woman full of ambition. She started working 2 jobs, which were a secretary during the day and a saleswoman at a boutique in the evenings. Her schedules became hectic, leaving her with little time for her mother. Whenever Mama Naomi asked for help, Naomi would sign and say, "Mama, I can't right now. I have to work. It is for us. Please, Mama, help me to do this." Because though the house grew quieter and the bond they once shared felt stretched, Mama Naomi never complained. She believed her daughter's hard work was for a better future for them both and held on to that hope like a lifeline. A few months later, Naomi met Adekunle. He was everything a girl could dream of: handsome, wealthy, and charming. Adekunle fell deeply in love with Naomi and wasted no time in wooing her. Within months, they were inseparable, and before long, he proposed. Their wedding was the talk of town, a grand affair with fine lace, vibrant Ankara, and guests who came in droves to celebrate. Mama Naomi was proud and happy that now she would begin to eat the fruit of her labor. After the wedding, Naomi moved into a luxurious apartment in Lagos with her new husband. The house was breathtaking. Spacious rooms with marble floors, sparkling chandeliers, and soft leather chairs that seemed to embrace you when you sat. She had everything at her disposal: chefs to cook her meals, maids to clean the house, and a driver to take her wherever she wished. For Naomi, this was a dream come true. But for Mama Naomi, who still lived in their modest house in Abeokuta, the gap between mother and daughter seemed wider than ever. But what could she do? One day, Adekunle suggested something that made Naomi uncomfortable. "Why don't we bring your mother to stay with us?" he asked. "She's done so much for you, my dear. It's the least we can do." Naomi hesitated, but after much persuasion, she agreed. A few days later, she and the driver went to Abeokuta to fetch her mother. When the sleek car pulled up in front of Mama Naomi's house, her heart leapt and swelled with pride. She packed her things, eager to live closer to her daughter, imagining a future filled with love and rest. But when they arrived in Lagos, reality was far from what Mama Naomi had imagined. Naomi's attitude had greatly changed. Though she allowed her mother to stay, it was clear that she did not want her there. "Mama, don't sit on those chairs. They are for guests, please," she would say, pointing to the plush living room furniture. When Mama Naomi asked to help in the kitchen, Naomi responded sharply, "You don't need to touch anything. Just stay in your room, Mama Biko." But even in her room, peace was elusive for Mama Naomi. When she turned on the TV, Naomi would complain that it was too loud. Whenever she was having a bath, Naomi would say the shower was making so much noise. When the door had been closed for a long time by Naomi, Naomi would still come to complain that the door was closed. And when this same Naomi opened the door ajar and it's been opened for too long, she would come and complain again that Mama Naomi's door was too opened and the unpleasant odor from her room had filled everywhere. A few days later, Naomi began assigning her mother house chores. She was to wash the dishes, mop the floors, and clean the rooms. Whenever Mama Naomi didn't move fast enough, Naomi would snap. "Mama, why can't you do it? You are not old yet now. But if it is food now, Mama, you will eat it like a glutton." Mama Naomi's heart broke a little more each day. With all of Naomi's attitude, she did not complain. She always told herself, "This is my daughter. Maybe the stress of getting married is making her cranky to really notice how she's treating me." However, deep down, Mama Naomi longed for the days when they would sit together, share stories, and laugh like they used to. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Naomi's mistreatment of her mother became a routine. Mama Naomi was made to feel like an outsider in her daughter's home. She wasn't allowed to use the fine dining table or rest on the living room's plush chairs. Instead, she ate alone in her small room or sat on a wooden stool in the kitchen corner. Naomi would often shout at her over the smallest things. One time, when Mama Naomi was tired and couldn't clean the dishes on time, Naomi came into the kitchen, saw the dirty dishes and shouted, "Mama, why are the dishes not washed yet? Can't you at least do that since you are home all day, eh?" But despite all this, Mama Naomi said nothing to Adekunle, Naomi's husband, who worked in another state and only visited them every 2 months. In the first few months of Mama Naomi's arrival, when Adekunle was home, he would always greet her warmly, his face lighting up whenever he saw her. He sat beside her one day and asked, "Mama, I hope you are enjoying your stay with us." "I hope so." Smiling weakly, Mama Naomi replied, "Yes, my son, oh, I am. Thank you for everything, eh? Thank you." "Okay, Mama, if you need anything at all, don't hesitate to ask Naomi. It is your house too," Adekunle said. When Adekunle turned his back and left, Mama Naomi bursted into tears. She had actually lied, not because she wanted to, but because she did not want to create any tension between her daughter and her husband. As the days passed, Mama Naomi began to fall ill. It started with weakness, then bouts of dizziness, and soon persistent fevers that left her unable to get up from bed. Naomi noticed her mother's condition, but she dismissed it and said, "Mama, you are just old. Rest, and you'll feel better." But Mama Naomi's illness worsened, and that was when Naomi finally took her mother to the hospital. However, after admitting her, she barely stayed to monitor her care. Instead, she left her mother in the hands of the domestic staff and returned only occasionally to drop off money or check the doctor's bills. Naomi went out to parties, business meetings, and social gatherings, She actually never paused to truly ask how her mother was really doing. Sadly, the situation spiraled when the doctors informed Naomi that her mother needed urgent surgery to remove the abdominal growth in her abdomen that was causing her to fall sick. But instead of taking it seriously, Naomi dismissed the idea, thinking it was unnecessary. "Mama is old already," she told herself. "What's the point of surgery at her age, eh? She's already old." Against medical advice, Naomi decided to take her mother to Abeokuta for herbal treatments. She convinced herself that the herbal remedies there would suffice to shrink the growth. And when Adekunle called to ask after Mama, she lied that her mother said she wanted to visit Abeokuta and stay for a while. Now, in the quiet sunlit streets of Abeokuta, Mama Naomi's condition worsened. Bathing became a harrowing ordeal, her fragile arms trembling as she clung to the edge of a plastic basin while lukewarm water dripped from her withered body. Eating wasn't any easier. What little strength she had left made lifting a spoon almost impossible. Nights were the cruelest. Sleep became hard as the stabbing pain in her joints couldn't allow her to find rest. She often lay awake, crying and telling Titi to rub her back and body for her. Now, Titi was a young village girl Naomi hired to care for her mother. Titi, barely more than a child herself, took on the role with empathy. She bathed Mama Naomi, fed her, and comforted her at night. Mama Naomi groaned in pain during every bath, and she often turned away from the food, too weak or too disoriented to eat. And on the nights when her body refused her any semblance of rest, Titi would sit by her side, gently rubbing her hands in an effort to offer her some comfort. Titi reached out to Naomi frequently, her voice trembling over the phone as she explained that Mama's condition wasn't improving. "She needs more help," Titi pleaded. "She cries every night and I don't know what else to do." Naomi, however, kept telling Titi to take care of Mama and even sent more money to look for another herbalist to take Mama to. "I will handle it soon, Jare," she kept saying. A few weeks later, Mama Naomi asked for Naomi to visit, knowing that her time was drawing near. Naomi reluctantly agreed, but she traveled with Adekunle, her husband, who happened to be around that week. When they arrived, Mama Naomi asked to speak to Naomi alone. In a small room, Mama Naomi laid on her bed, motioning for Naomi to come closer. Weak and frail, she looked into her daughter's eyes, her voice very clear despite her frailty. "Naomi," she began, "I loved you with everything I had. I worked day and night to give you a life I never had. But you forgot me. You treated me like I didn't matter. You ignored my pain, my needs, and my love. For everything I did, this is how you repaid me." Tears streamed down Naomi's face, but Mama Naomi wasn't finished. "This thing you have done to me, Naomi, your children will do twice as much to you. Mark my words." With those final words, Mama Naomi closed her eyes and passed away. Naomi fell to her knees, crying uncontrollably, but it was too late. The damage had been done, and her mother's curse had been spoken. Adekunle found Naomi sobbing in the room after he rushed in when he heard a shrill scream and thought that her tears were only because her mother had passed away. What do you think happened to Naomi? Did her mother's curse come to pass? Please stick around as I'll post the second part of Naomi and her mother's story in the next story that I'll be uploading soon. I don't want the story to be so long. That is why I'm cutting it into 2 different parts. Thank you for understanding and thank you for your attentive ears.